it's like AI is gonna be everywhere. If you have any gaps, like try to fill up with AI. But I would say that there is a caveat to all this, right? When I say that you need caveat, it's like AI is not gonna completely work for you. You need to still use your brain. You still need to know what is the good problem to solve. You're just not gonna let AI decide that for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Anyreach Roundtable, where we explore how AI is transforming the way we work. I'm your host, Richard Lin, the CEO of Anyreach, and today's guest is Jude, our head of product here at Anyreach for our Meet the Team series. Jude, it's great to have you here.
It's great to be here, Richard. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So just for our audience, can you maybe share a little bit about your background, your experience, and how you got here, and just so they can know you a little bit better?
Yeah, sure. I'm a software engineer, so that's the major I graduated from. And I started my career early, back on 2017, like around that mark. And I joined IBM. On IBM, I will say that that's where I grow a lot. I gained a lot of work experience from there because I was part of this group of people that were called IBM Garage. So what we will do is like we will
Mm,
have the DNA of a startup, you may, but we will operate in this big enterprise. So I was always like exposed to the enterprise world, but also the startup world, and just like
mm,
helping a lot of clients on that front. I work on a lot of interesting projects from just like gathering, what is the problem of the company, trying to figure out the best solution using design thinking workshops and different like just workshops with the clients, all the way to actually implementing, I did some front-end development there and also just monitoring projects, and I did a lot of team management too in there. So I think that was just part of like growing up, where I was
mm.
exposed in the right, environment, so I could just like develop my skills there. I later on ended up joining a startup that was more phased towards education, where I just kept
Mm.
fledging my skills as a product manager. I'm a software engineer, but product design was always a passion of mine. So that's just like something that I've moved towards during my career. Yeah, so I became a product manager. Eventually, I got a better role towards head of product of that company. And then I
Mm.
met you, and then we're here. I joined Anyreach, and it has been a great experience for me. And I'm just super, proud of how far I came, and just working with amazing people in this team. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and thanks for sharing your background. And it's quite a journey. I mean, obviously we've known each other for some time, and they say startup years is like dog years. 1 year is like seven, and
Yeah.
so we've been battle tested. We've grown our scar tissue through our last kind of engagement at the education startup. And it's very rare to have the opportunity to kind of dip your feet into, startup kind of methods, startup approaches while, being under the umbrella of kind of like a behemoth like IBM in the enterprise. And so it's, really interesting to kind of see how you've taken what you've learned from IBM and bring that into kind of what we're doing here at Anyreach, considering that we're targeting a lot of enterprises while still being a startup. So really, really cool, and thanks for sharing that. And as you kind of think about leading product here at Anyreach, what gets you excited about your role and how you're shaping the future, and what does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah. I would say that what got me really excited, it was like that first conversation that I had with you. I don't know if you
Mm,
remember that time, but you were like, "Hey, do you want to see something cool?" You just pull out your phone and you started showing me a demo of this voice AI agent, And at the beginning, I was confused because it was like, "Oh, this sounds like he's talking to a human, He's trying to show me he's
mm,
talking to a person or something." But then you were like, "Oh, this is AI," and I was like, "Oh, this is great," This sounds uncannily human. It can answer all
mm,
your queries as a person will, and I didn't really notice. And I was like, "Oh my god, I want to be part of this." So I got pretty
mm,
excited when I first like experienced that demo from you. And I was like, well, this is gonna shape the future. This is gonna change how things are on the industry, on any level. Because like at the beginning, it was just like, oh, we're gonna use AI to craft my emails better, to fix my grammar, to send communications and stuff. And people were using it for really basic stuff. But I would say that AI has come to a point that is more agentic, so it's able to take care of tasks and stuff. And that just gets me really excited because imagine in a world where we just get rid of the tedious work that is usually repetitive, it's things that we don't really like to do as much, and we can concentrate on the creative stuff and the strategy stuff that is the fun stuff, of any role. So I think AI is going to help us a lot on and exponentializing that growth and make us more productive, but productive with purpose, right? Not only being productive to generate more outcome, but actually outcome that will have an impact in the work that we're doing. So I think that gets me really exciting, just about like AI and how far is coming along thus far. I would say that on my day to day, I use AI a lot. I guess like here on the beach, we just say like, yeah, he's gonna be a teammate. So we try to add it, as in every part of the process as we see fit. But we added with purpose, not only just to have AI on everything.
Right.
So I would say like it helps like generate quantity fast, because sometimes you need to get to the quality, and to generate the quality you need quantity first. But you need to experience different, like for instance, when I'm designing an interface, see different screens, see different flows, see what flow will be better for users, and just like have AI maybe skim through some of that and just refine it, and until we get the quality, but us the humans make the decision of what quality looks like, what it looks like, and just take it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. And a little funny joke. That first demo was actually not an AI. It was a gal in the Philippines, on the phone. No, I'm totally kidding. No, it actually was AI. So, but you brought up a really good point about, it's not just about productivity, right? We think about AI, just hey, handle this job faster, but it's really about productivity with purpose, right? And it's such an important piece as we think about AI, where I like to use analogies where I don't wash my own dishes anymore. I have a dishwasher that does that. I don't wash my own clothes by hand. I have a washer and dryer to do that job, right?
Yeah.
So I can focus on other things, and it's kind of proliferating kind of in the knowledge world, if you will, where what you would think about for kind of your day-to-day workflows of like washing the dishes or washing your clothes. Now, let's get AI to do that so we can, focus on other things that are going to be like more high value, high priority. And you kind of mentioned about your background being as a software developer, kind of transitioning to product, which is product folks come from like all kinds of disciplines, right? I've seen folks doing art, becoming a product manager, musician, and then obviously software engineering to being in product. And so with your kind of deep domain expertise around how code works, how things are built, adding in all the skills you've kind of built in design and product management and strategy, where do you get your inspiration from? What are you doing to kind of keep on top of the product role, and how do you see AI kind of shaping that in the future?
Yeah, I would say that there is always like really good sources out there. I sometimes just scroll on LinkedIn, because I follow really interesting people that is always sharing like, oh, I want to share a tutorial on how to use NNA to have a role of customer success, automated fully, to an extent. Or I will see, like I like also like checking sometimes data that is not set as a blog or anything. Like I will go to Reddit, Twitter, how can you see what people is talking about AI, what is their experiences, what they're complaining about. So that's a good way to just access some filter data, and just check like what is the sentiment towards certain tools, So if we have any competitors and stuff, we check like, oh, what are they saying about them, and there will be things that will shape the feedback that I use to generate a product or design a new screen or design a new feature within the platform. I would say that
Mm.
really good blogs or really good podcasts to stay in tune of it will be maybe Latent Space. They post everything about new AI technologies, and they're
Mm.
pretty like interesting to just listen to. Because if you are not a deep tech, but you want to understand how the deep tech works, they usually explain it
Mm.
really good on those podcasts. I would say the other one that is more mainstream would be like Parkour. That is essentially good for news, anything news about AI, anything like the good, the beautiful, and everything about AI. So you want to stay up to date
Mm.
on what's happening in the world. That's a good place to check
Mm.
that stuff. And one that is more kind of an informal, like maybe delivery, but it's really fun to look at is Ben's Bites. That also I check like a lot because he was usually sharing like really interesting stuff about AI and how to utilize AI and the new platforms that are coming along and how to use them. So I would say that it's just a mix of just following the right people, on Twitter and all the social media too, because they're always sharing like really interesting stuff. And I just try to stay up to date with like the new trends that are coming along. One thing that I have is LinkedIn sometimes that is just checking like trends of what product managers like me are looking for, on different like social media and stuff, and it just fits me like, oh, this is like what is hot right now.
Mm.
Mainly so I can post about it, but I can also learn about it and just keep up to date with everything that is going on right now. I would say that on anything software, usually you need to keep up to date because things change. It used to change like once a month or so. With AI,
Yeah.
things change every day, so you need to keep on track with everything and just stay in tune with the news. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you brought up some really interesting podcasts and articles. It sounds like we need to continue to refine our list because we should start engaging with them and kind of sharing our knowledge and also being a guest there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really appreciate kind of about your background and your approach is you just move extremely fast. And there's a handful of examples from client projects to core product development where you're really owning kind of end-to-end full stack. And by full stack, I don't mean just programming and development, um, but the marriage between product design and engineering. And sometimes if one of our engineers are low on bandwidth or they can't help support in a specific kind of area within a project, you kind of step in and say, hey, I've been a developer before. I have these AI native tools from Cursor to Lovable and so on and so forth. I'm just going to go and build it. And we're kind of seeing that what do you call it, like role and responsibilities are kind of merging and converging, if you will, as kind of like an AI unicorn, if you will. As you kind of think about how these disciplines are coming together, what are you kind of seeing kind of in the field in your day-to-day work, where the PM role, the design role, and even the engineering role are starting to kind of like become one?
Yeah, I would say that, as I mentioned, AI is gonna enhance productivity. And I would say
Mm.
that if you have really good basis, of any of these roles, so if you're good at design, you're good at product management, or you're good at
Mm.
development and you're good at product management, it's rare to find the trio, come together. But
Yeah.
I would say that it will be important that you're able to utilize AI to fill some of those gaps. Because I can see
Mm.
this kind of merging into a new role where it's just like a product AI generator person, something like that.
Mm.
Where even like on companies like Meta, they already have their engineers, even come up with the experiment of new features, and sometimes they're measured in like not only shipping the feature out, but actually getting conversions and hitting the metrics. If it's not
Mm.
hitting those metrics, then you didn't do anything that year, and your probably
Right.
reviews gonna come out bad. But they actually start getting involved on designing the experiment, designing how they're gonna work, making sure that
Mm.
everything falls in line, and that when they ship the product, they need to control that the metrics are happening, or make adjustments. And if it's not happening, they remove the feature out of the platform, and you need to think on something else. So I would
Mm.
say that the road is moving a little bit towards that. Like, how are you self-sufficient with actually designing, the experiment? And not only design the experiment, you have to check what is the problem to solve, the right problem to solve, right? So whether it's a user need, and sometimes researching a little bit more, not only what users are saying, you need to see quantifiable information, because sometimes what the user says is really different to what the user does. So you
Yep.
need to first compare that information, and
Mhm.
just checking like strategy wise for the company, how this will fit within the strategy is actually going to help me increase sales. It's going to actually help me bring more users, it's going to generate more leads, and checking all those three things to design a good experiment. Once you design the experiment, then it's gonna be like, oh, you know what? I'm self-sufficient. How can I use AI to start maybe implementing this experiment? And it can be that if it's gonna be just like running a survey, like listen, go right away over there.
Mhm.
I don't wait for anyone to like a vendor or anything. But if you can like generate a prototype that you can just test with people, like maybe it's not something that you ship right away, but you just need to start testing. There is V0, there is Lovable, there is Codex, like Replit AI. There is a assortment of tools that can generate like these solutions to
Mhm.
that is a functional prototype, so you can experiment things, and start validating the hypothesis that you make. And like once you say like, oh, you know what, I have good metrics are hitting. It seems like the users are actually relying to this stuff. Then we can move to actually integrating the feature within the platform. And
Mhm.
like you can have even like other like use software that uses AI to start generating reports when once the feature is implemented. And the feature can get implemented using Cursor, can be implemented using like just other tools like Cloud, AI for coding. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it's just like AI is gonna be everywhere. If you have any gaps, like try to fill it with AI. But I would say that there is a caveat to all this, right? When I say that you
Mhm.
need to have really good basis, it's like AI is not gonna do all the work for you. You need to still use your brain. You still need to know what is the good problem to solve. No, you're just not gonna let
Mhm.
AI decide that for you. And sometimes I can see this even on coding. Like people rely on it too much, that AI sometimes make mistakes that are really simple to solve. Sometimes it's just a line of code that is doing
Mhm.
incorrectly, and it just goes through this rabbit hole of being in a loop of unsolvable issue. So you don't have the basis. Sometimes it's really hard to use AI just only to increase productivity. So you need to make sure that you have some basis on the matter.
Yeah.
Say that it will take you as far as the person giving instructions, I would say. Yeah, so
Right.
being
Right.
good at writing good prompts, understanding uh your purview of the activities that you gotta do, that would be really
Mhm.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a really interesting point. I mean, I've heard this quite a bit, and obviously I've seen it myself as I'm using AI tools, that it's not just, you know, being kind of flippant with AI and just thinking I'm going to write 3 words into a prompt and expect some amazing outcome. You really still have to manage the process. And AI is kind of like, depending on the model you use, could be a junior employee, could be a PhD level, right, employee. But regardless, of the intelligence, at the end of the day, there's still kind of a what you call like a digital employee. You still have to manage them. You still have to know what tasks to assign to them. You have to give them the context, and you need to know if they're doing the job well or not, right? Just like any employee. And so, yeah, AI is kind of like a double-edged sword where there's a ton of benefit if you do it well, but it can also be pretty detrimental, right? And quick couple examples, if you're just vibe coding, if you will, and your code base keeps growing and growing and growing, you're just gonna, have an AI that's gonna hallucinate because there's just too much stuff going on. And it's also really hard to kind of backtrack and say what code was actually created. And there's this actually funny little thing outside of, coding. There's this theory called the dead internet theory,
Hmm.
where folks have been speculating that actually a lot of the comments on YouTube, on Twitter, are actually AI, and they're
Hmm.
actually not real people. And I'm seeing more of this in LinkedIn. Like sometimes I'll post something,
Hmm.
and folks are just writing comments that are like pixel perfect. It sounds
Hmm.
super AI, right?
Hmm.
And AI generated content is going to be just so much more in volume than actual real data from real people, right? Over time.
Yeah.
The question is, how do you manage that both from your business perspective, but also what's happening kind of on a macro level? And it really just comes down to, how do you actually build AI? How do you provide the right guardrails and filters and so forth? And so, kind of want to, switch gears a little bit. And talk about you more personally. Obviously, you've had kind of an upbringing, not originally from the U.S., but as an immigrant from Mexico. And what we're starting to see is actually quite a lot of talent coming out from Mexico, especially around kind of technology and so forth. And we're starting to see these kind of hubs come out outside of Silicon Valley. Based on kind of your personal experience, how are you seeing kind of the shape of technology where from Mexico, from your original country, and then what kind of talent and folks are you starting to see kind of develop in the wake of AI?
Yeah, I would say that I think Mexico is a cultural thing. We grew up usually hearing like, oh, you want to progress, in the world, in your life, you need to study. You need to have a degree. So for us Mexicans, sometimes it's really important to get a degree. Because that's what our parents will always say to us, like, get a degree,
Mm,
if you want to be like someone successful in the future. So
yeah.
I would say that both my parents were scholars. They both studied like their bachelor's degree, their master's degree. My dad has even a doctorate. My mom
Mm,
is still studying. She found a passion for being a counselor now, so she's getting a
mm,
master on that line of work. She used to be a business management master, but
mm,
she did the switch, and it's something she's really passionate about.
mm,
So I would say that education is just pretty important for us, and I have seen it like a lot of people from any level, socioeconomical level, when they stand, they put a lot of effort. We're usually hard workers. Mexicans are known for being hard workers. We will just
yeah.
like keep growing, and keep like just bettering our families as we go. Um,
Mm,
so I think that's something that was like just really important for me. Getting my degree, making sure that I get a specialty, and making sure that even though I'm not studying a master's or anything yet, like keep learning. Because learning is really important. And I would say that there is a lot of free resources nowadays. If you want to learn
mm,
anything, you know, uh, internet is there. Even now, AI can teach you to those things. So I would say just
mm,
constant learning. I have seen a lot of growth in my city of origin. I'm from Guadalajara, Mexico. And over there, we have a lot of big companies like enterprises just moving there and they hire people locally. So we
mm,
have IBM, we have Intel, and big ones over there. And there's a lot of people actually migrating from other countries to Mexico to work in these companies. We see a lot of universities, starting to gathering their maybe their study plan so they can become professionals at these companies, and they
mm,
always have partnerships. Like I was pretty, I would say lucky to have a university that actually care about just having this synergy, with companies, and they will always make us do practices. So we will have to go to the company and we have to do like 2 times work for a different company, and we need to be like
mm,
6 months working within that company to be able to graduate. So I think that even they still like that kind of just getting ready for the real world, right? And we have a lot of technical like high schools. I think that would be the term here. So
mm,
people can start getting ready even earlier, to start choosing a branch. Like you want to be on health, you want to be on sciences, you want to be on software, whatever you want. And there's a lot of growing there too as well. I have met really talented people while working at IBM, and I think that they keep up to date with like technologies and stuff. And it's mostly not actually going back to school sometimes, but just keeping in tune with what's going on in the world and just checking tutorials, working on projects. One of my good friends, like he's always working on random projects that maybe don't have, I'm not gonna build a company or anything, but he just wants to learn and he
mm.
just goes into a project. So that's a way that they keep updated as well. So yeah, just like I think just hardworking people, and just we just kind of put education a high regard. Yeah, overall.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, hard work and always learning and curiosity. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. That's the recipe you need, not just in life, but especially in the AI space, right? There's just so much information. You're always constantly trying to figure out what's going on. and you're not really going to make success unless you actually work hard at it. So it's great to hear about kind of your personal story there and the cultural references and how that's shaping you as, a head of product here at Anyreach. As you kind of think about maybe just the product role in general and kind of where AI is trending, what do you think are going to be some big, trends and opportunity in the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh, that's a great question. So I would say AI is moving really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And we are seeing a lot of people starting adopting the concept of generating agents to do a task. But I would say that we're going to start seeing net of agents being built by these companies to do more complex activities or set of tasks. So we always have this concept maybe on Anyreach, like, oh, you're going to be able to design your ideal employee, at some point. And part of that is like having a good, like what we call orchestrator, right, of those activities. So
Mm-hmm.
we're not just gonna have an AI having this ginormous prompt of things that it has to do. We will have different AIs that are gonna communicate with each other, and each one is gonna be tasked to generate one of those activities, right? So one is gonna be, for instance, if we say like, oh, I'm gonna maybe automate customer support to an extent, right? I'm gonna have one checking on my emails, and provide responses. I might have another one help me schedule meetings. I'm gonna have another one help me just come up with like a ticketing system, and make sure that I receive
Mm-hmm.
tickets and something is being done about it, right? So we will start seeing like this network of agents like communicating to each other and working together, and have maybe an AI orchestrator at the top that at the beginning might be a person orchestrating this task to happen. That is like probably where we are at some extent. But ideally, at some point, that is going to be automated, and we humans are going to become just like signing off, like this is correct, and managing and making sure that everything within the process has quality. Because I would say that, like with anything AI, there's always a caveat of the AI is super fast, not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
it's going to provide the right response at the beginning. So someone
Mm-hmm.
needs to be checking the output, right? And someone knowledgeable on the field needs to be checking that output and just making sure that everything is correct. And you can automate some of that to extent, but you need to know the process. So mapping process is pretty important. Identify where AI fits is important too, because you're not going to just add AI for adding AI on everything. And the other one is defining what good looks like. You need to define what a good looks like, because that is going to be the comparison point for these AIs to do a good work, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise, if you don't define like, hey, this is the metrics, this is what good looks like, this is examples of things, then AI is just gonna go rogue and just do a mess, and we don't want that. So I would say like we will see a little bit more of that network of agents acting in unison to generate different activities, maybe taking certain roles, right? And not to generate like panic. Oh, it's gonna come take my job. No, your job is gonna evolve like everything. Like when we have a new technology coming in, like when we have like computers and stuff, like yeah, maybe there is not going to be people doing like perforate cards or maybe doing calculations by hand, but your job is going to evolve to something more significant. Like what is going to be the next level? Maybe you're going to need to just own a strategy, own creativity, own other things on your field that are important. And that is probably the fun stuff, a part of your job. Maybe sending tons of emails or checking tons of emails is not fun. But doing the other stuff, the strategy, making sure your client is successful, that's where the human brain like will excel at. Yeah, so I think
Right.
that's where things are heading a little bit on the next year.
Yeah. And you bring up a really interesting point because I think with any sort of like technology cycle and new innovations, whether that's, as you mentioned, the computer to the internet, social, mobile, and now with AI, there's always kind of a doom and gloom of like, oh, this new technology is gonna, disrupt the economy, disrupt individuals because they're not gonna have a job anymore. And I think the abstract view of what is the additional value gap that we just don't know about, right? When this new technology emerges, I think that's the challenge of trying to really understand, right? Like when you think about the industrial revolution where, from agriculture to, manufacturing and so on and so forth, where things were done by hand, now you have machines actually doing it faster, better, cheaper, whatever you want to call it. that really unlocked additional opportunities for humans to do other things, right? So new jobs emerged, like, well, you need a technician to actually manage those machines, for instance, right? And I think that's where we're kind of trying to figure out, when it comes to AI, where is that value gap that we're not seeing because it's so abstract, right? Where, one of the areas that we're kind of exploring in the human in the loop process for our agentic AI is AI trainers, right? Because when it comes to voice, that data hasn't been labeled, structured, and provided the human input and context of what makes a good conversation. And so, one of the beliefs I think we have here at Anyreach is that humans are not going to just be call center agents anymore. They are going to actually be AI trainers. They're going to be able to guide the AI on what is good and what is bad. And so it's a whole new job description, right? Even though the old one is gone, there's a whole new kind of role kind of emerging from there. So, and you recently posted a blog about what jobs are going to be impacted and which jobs are potentially safe. I think you did this kind of like thought exercise with your husband.
Yeah.
And so, can you maybe talk a little bit about what that post was about and kind of your thought process and conclusion from that?
Yeah, sure. I would say that one thing that I think just the community overall is like struggling with is what is gonna be my next career, and even like for people that is in high school right now is maybe asking that question like, oh, AI can do a lot of things. Jobs are gonna be automated. There is this panic, that is going on, and like I have one of my sisters also going to college starting like this year, so she was also like, oh, what am I gonna do next, like, yeah, I can code now. She wanted to be a software engineer too, like trying to follow a bit of my steps and my sister's steps, and she was like, oh, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next. But I would say that with everything, like good baselines are always like important. You still need to know how to code to be able to use AI like in a better way, right? If you know how to code, your output might be better than as a person that doesn't know how to code, the principles or all that stuff. So we run that exercise for my husband because he wanted to just explore new careers, right? Where is gonna be a new career that I can take over? Because he right now is like on the delivery, like he does delivery driving for his job. He used to work at UPS. Right now he works for the government, and he's like, I want to do something more exciting. I want to do something where maybe I can utilize my talents. He's really people's person. He's really well spoken. But he rather to not be on an office setting. He rather to be outside, driving here
Right.
around. And he's just really hardworking overall. And he has a lot of previous experience. Like he's a man of all trades. He has been like a teacher. He has been like a coach. He has been helping like with the camera work on like sport games and stuff like that as well. And yeah, he's just like all over the place with his talents. So we were using AI and using like you know just like a gaming strategy within AI, trying to just put like the actors of the world. And that's something that I learned from you. You said like, oh, let's use a game strategy here. So just like, okay, this is the panorama of the world. This is the talents or the things that my husband brings in. Let's find the best probably careers for him, right? And he had really clear goals. He wants to make 100K a year. He wants something that is not an office setting. He wants something that he can like eventually retire young, right? So we just come up with all these options and some of his previous experiences, and we just landed with, oh, maybe he can be something within like electrician, because he has done like some low voltage before. Maybe he can do high voltage now. And that career evolves to the point that you can make 100K a year. You can own your own business. You can certainly retire a little younger after. So we just
Right.
have like different options for him. Like sometimes some other one was like acquiring a business from just a company that is about like to close because they're not finding a person to take over. So it's like, hey, let's just talk with the folks in town. We have a lot of connections within our community, and everyone is pretty tight together. So it's like, let's just find someone that wants to retire. They have a business. Maybe we can acquire the business and have you manage it. and you don't need to know how to manage at the beginning. We're gonna learn together, but it's something that you can do as well. And there was just like different options, like, okay, you want to go back to school, and he will be a great engineer. That's just my perspective because he's great at math. And it's like, oh,
Mm,
maybe we can do that, and I can teach you the ways of things that I know how to do. Because he was like an interested in robotics, and he was saying like maybe someone that is able to maintain robots and stuff in the future will be valuable because
mm,
automation with robots is going to happen too. So it
yeah.
was just like things. So we use some of that game strategy. We just have a really cool conversation with ChatGPT, like checking all the edge cases and stuff, and it just come up with some of
Mm,
those options. And we're like, oh, this is cool, right? So you can just start using AI to also take some tough decisions and being data driven while taking those decisions, right? Like this is
yeah.
the world said, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's super fun and exciting how you've kind of applied your product mindset and frameworks into essentially, hey, what's the problem? What does a future career look like, and how do I apply this to my husband's specific, passion, skill sets, and goals? And then using AI and game theory and game strategy to essentially have a reasoning model, like come up with all these different kind of variables and potential options, and then using that as like kind of a roadmap for your husband's career. I mean, outside of work, that sounds like the best application of all the skills you've acquired over the multiple years you've been in product, and obviously now with Anyreach utilizing AI tools. And so it's always good to hear how it's not just learning AI, learning these skill sets is only for doing a job, but you can apply these same kind of thought processes, frameworks, and so forth even to your personal life. So thank you for sharing that. So Jude, it's been a pleasure to have you on Anyreach Roundtable. I'm sure our audience is really going to appreciate kind of the behind the scenes of our team, personal journeys, and kind of how we're tackling this really behemoth of a task of getting agentic AI into all businesses. So we really appreciate you having you here, and look forward to more years ahead. Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me, Richard. Have a good day.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jude.